Dr. Jacob Larson, and this is Read, Write, and Cite, a channel where I teach you how to read, write, and cite for your college classes. In this video, I want to take some time to talk about setting, right? Setting as, like, I'm going to use some examples. I'm going to read a little bit, and I want to set you up to go think about how you can use setting effectively in your own writing. Okay? That makes sense? All right. So, I've made several videos recently talking about To Build a Fire from Jack London, and this is a very good example of how setting can make a story possible, right? You think about the story. Basically, there's a man who, I'm going to ruin it. There's a man who goes out and he's traveling through, the cold winter in Alaska. He falls in some ice and he can't save himself. He can't really build a fire and he dies. Anyway, the setting, that's a great way to start a video. But the setting is important, right? That story can't happen in a different setting. It would be a different story. Maybe it's a story of survival. It may have a very similar character, but it's not the same story. The story is about him in that setting. Okay? So, when you are writing your own stories, whether you're describing something that's you've actually experienced or you're writing fiction, the setting is important. So I'm going to read a little bit from To Build a Fire and talk about it in the context of helping you to write your own settings. Okay, so here we go. Day had broken, cold and gray, exceedingly cold and gray, when the man turned aside from the main Yukon trail and climbed the high earth bank where a dim and little-traveled trail led eastward through the fat spruce timberland. So that was one sentence. We have our character inside the setting, but almost the whole focus of that first sentence is describing where this man is. It was a steep bank, and he paused for breath at the top, excusing the act to himself by looking at his watch. It was 9 o'clock. Setting is not just about where something happens, but it's also when something happens. So something like the time of day or the time period, those affect setting as well. There was no sun nor hint of sun, though there was not a cloud in the sky. It was a clear day, and yet there seemed an intangible pall over the face of things, a subtle gloom that made the day dark, and that was due to the absence of sun. This fact did not worry the man, who's the character of the story. He was used to lack of sun. It had been days since he had seen the sun, and he knew that a few more days must pass before the cheerful orb, due south, would just peep above the skyline and dip immediately from view. That's the first paragraph. We learn almost nothing about the man. And what we do learn about the man is in the context of the setting. Almost the whole paragraph is telling you where the story is taking place. Let me read the next one. The man flung a look back along the way he had come. The Yukon lay a mile wide and hidden under 3 feet of ice. On top of this ice were as many feet of snow. It was all pure white, rolling in gentle undulations where the ice jams of the freeze-ups had formed. North and south, as far as his eye could see, it was unbroken, white, save for a dark hairline that curved and twisted from around the spruce-covered island to the south, and that curved and twisted away into the north, where it disappeared behind another spruce-covered island. This dark hairline was the trail, the main trail, that led south 500 miles to the Chilkoot Pass, Daya, and Saltwater, and that led north 70 miles to Dawson, and still onto the north 1,000 miles to Nolato, and finally to St. Michael on Bering Sea, 1,000 miles and half 1,000 more. So, it's describing just how remote this place is. It's describing ice covered in snow, and it's talking about islands, and it goes on for miles and miles and miles. This is where the man is at. And that is a huge part of the whole story of what comes next. So, what does this have to do with you? As I read that, and maybe as you've read the story, could you see the place? Was it as if you were there yourself? If not, maybe back up, watch it again. Not that my voice is special, but just paying attention, not to what you see, but to the words that you're hearing. What are they describing? Thousands of miles this direction. He's climbing up a hill. He's having trouble breathing. It's cold. As you describe different elements of imagery throughout a story, it really paints a picture for your reader. Now, I want to point something out. Take this for what it's worth, but we have 5 senses, right? We've got our sight, what we can see. We have what we can hear, what we can smell, what we can taste, and what we can touch. In literature, when we talk about describing things that appeal to the senses, we refer to it as imagery. Now, when we think of imagery, we're probably thinking, oh, well, imagery is just what you see. It's more than that, though, because your reader is going to have very strong memories associated with things that they smell, things that they taste. If you start describing, the taste of a hamburger or some food that's incredibly juicy and tasty and savory, your reader may recall those memories, and even though they're not necessarily seeing it, you're not describing what it's looking like, you are basically making it so that they can taste it. If you're describing a distinct smell, maybe something really horrible smelling or something very nice smelling, your reader may remember that, and it's going to call back to them and make the setting, the scene that you're describing much more vivid. So, let me give you an assignment. For my students, this is something I want you to do. If you're not, try it anyway. This is a writing assignment. I want you to take wherever you are and describe it. Write several paragraphs. Challenge yourself to make it as vivid as possible. Now, you're not making it up. You're not like, I was watching this YouTube video in space. No. And remember, this isn't so much about you, the character, and this place. Describe the place. So for me, I'm in the middle of a classroom, right? There's a board behind me, board over here. There's books over here. There's tables. I'm kind of in the middle of the room. There's a bunch of windows over here. If I started to describe them, even if you couldn't see it, you might be able to start see the place. I could be very technical and say, the actual length of the room by the width of the room and the height of the room. I could be describing the lights that are missing up here. I can describe the hum, the sound of the lights. I can talk about the highway that's on the other side of my window back behind the camera. I could talk about sounds I might hear from the hallway or the sounds of the air conditioner as it turns on and off. Those are the kinds of things that you don't normally think to describe, but make a place vivid and real and lived in. No matter what you're describing, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, taking the time to use imagery to describe your setting can make it real and vivid for your reader. So that's what I want you to do. Write a few paragraphs describing the place that you're at. Don't fictionalize it. Don't make it up. Actually describe it and see just how detailed and interesting you can make it. Describe the place for what it is, not what it could be necessarily, okay? All right, try that. See how it goes for you. See how that challenges you to think about the everyday place that you're at right now. And I hope that's a productive activity for you. So, thank you for watching. I'm Dr. Jacob Larson. This has been Read, Write, and Cite, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.